What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4, Episode 8, mid-season finale, The Laws of Inferno Dynamics. It's a pretty good title. I've seen a lot of really crappy titles. I've seen a couple of good titles. That's a good one. So, yeah. Obviously, it's the mid-season finale, so a lot of stuff happened. This is ultimately, like I said last week, it's the final episode for Ghost Rider. It looks like the second half of the season is setting up LMD, which I don't remember what that stands for. Anyway, so yeah, let's talk about this episode though, because there's a lot of build-up to ultimately what I was hoping would be more of an epic, like climactic fight. We kind of get a little bit of a fight, and it was cool to watch. But ultimately, it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting more like, we have Quake, we have Coulson, we have May, we have Yo-Yo, we have Mac, we have Daisy, we have Ghost Rider. All of them fighting against all of Eli's men. We didn't really get that. But what we got was still pretty cool. I mean, we've got, first of all, we see Yo-Yo, Daisy, and Robbie. They're about to go inside, so they send Yo-Yo in first to kind of check it out. She runs in, sees that she sets off a trap, tries to run out, and ultimately still gets burned on her way out. So Robbie's like, oh, he wants to play with fire, I'll show him, and goes in after him, despite the fact that there were clearly traps set up. But he just walks in, some guys hop up to, try to take him down, and of course he's just like, I'm gonna take you down, takes them down, goes into where this big box is set up, and it looks like a bigger version of the box that Lucy and all the other scientists were trapped in. So clearly this isn't a good place to be, but of course because Robbie is just too curious for his own good, he walks inside the box. Eli shows up and ultimately traps him inside the box by, whatever the box is made of, he sticks that through him off of the box, so he's stuck through his body with these pretty much like stalagmites coming out of the box through him. It was kind of gruesome, but he's stuck in there now. Coulson and the team really can't just run in there without a plan, so the director shows up after finding out more of this information, finding out more about Ada, all of this stuff. He comes in with a plan. Coulson and he work together to formulate a plan. And ultimately, the plan is pretty freaking awesome. Coulson walks in to distract Eli for a little bit, tries to talk him down, but clearly Eli has a plan in place, and he wants to set off this bomb to destroy everything. And so it's up to Coulson and the team to stop him. We have Daisy down below absorbing the tremors that I guess were being created because he was messing with the interdimensional something or rather. The best way I could think to describe it is basically he was drawing energy from somewhere. He thought he was just creating matter out of nothing, but it turns out where Coulson, Fitz, and Robbie were trapped in the last episode is actually what he was pulling matter from. And all of that pulling matter out of it is causing these earthquakes. So Daisy could actually feel the earthquakes coming and absorb them. So she was trying to absorb them, but eventually it got to be too much. They knew that if the earthquakes got too bad, it would set off this pretty much nuclear bomb that Eli had set up. So they're trying to use Ada to create another dimensional portal type thing. So she's setting it up below the box so that they can open it up and drop the box into it. So Fitzsimmons is there as well as Radcliffe, and they're all working with Ada. So all of this is going on. Coulson's trying to talk Eli down. At one point, he finally says, alright, that's how it's going to be, and then puts his hand to the side. I'm just like, what is that? What is he doing? Is he going to shoot something out of it? But that's not his fake arm, so what is he doing? Well, all of the agents come in. We have May hops in. We have Mac comes in. We have the director comes in. All of them are coming in to fight, and then all of a sudden, the director throws this guy, and it stopped. And I'm just like, did my internet freeze again? Because it was having some issues. I'm just like, seriously? This is the intense moment. Why do you have to freeze here? And then all of a sudden you see Yo-Yo running in, and I'm like, oh! That's pretty cool. She runs in and she sets up everything. So Mac has just axed the guy in the chest. She pulls the axe out and points it at another guy. She runs over, takes a gun out of the guy pointing at Coulson, and puts it in his outstretched hand. It just pretty much sets up this entire scene, pushes Eli back towards the box, holding something. Not really sure what she put in his hand. But, just sets up the entire scene so Eli's men are stopped. And Eli's now in the box with Robbie. Robbie is the Ghost Rider. Coulson throws a chain into him and is trying to pull him out. And ultimately, at first, he's like, alright, let's go. But then he sees Eli get up and is about to walk out, and he lets go of the chain, grabs him, and starts burning him. I'm just like, oh, Eli, you're dead. That's the end. And then another earthquake happens. The little lid thing drops, and that starts up the box to blow up. Just in time, they open up the portal, drop the box into this other dimension, and that's it. They've saved the day, but unfortunately Robbie had to go too. And I kind of expected that was going to happen. I kind of expected he would sacrifice himself to stop Eli, because ultimately that's what this story was setting up. Now, while it is predictable, I will say everything building up to it was so much fun that I didn't really mind the predictability of it. And I think that's what this show does very well. A lot of the times you can predict these storylines. A lot of the times you can look at it and say, okay, I think this is probably going to happen. And most of the time, you could probably figure it out, because it's not, like, aside from Ward turning out to be evil, that was probably the only storyline that I did not see coming at all. The rest of it was pretty straightforward, it was pretty easy to figure out, but it's so entertaining to watch. They do it in such a fun way that I don't even mind the fact that I'm seeing really predictable stuff. And that's one of the great things about Marvel. You can oftentimes see what they're trying to do, but even though you know where they're going with it, it's still a hell of a lot of fun to watch. And so we have a little bit of a wrap-up. At the end of it, we see all of the team, Daisy, apparently from absorbing so much of the earthquake power, she now has to just release it, so she does like a little Superman thing, which was pretty cool and at the same time a little goofy looking, but she shoots up into the air, comes down, and lands right in the middle of all the press. The director comes out, though, and says that she was actually working for S.H.I.E.L.D. the whole time as an undercover agent, trying to stop the watchdogs. So, day saved there, but of course it does mean she has to come back into S.H.I.E.L.D. because that's kind of part of the deal. He saved her, but now she's a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. again. But she doesn't even really mind. I think at this point she's kind of, after working with the team a bit more, after interacting with them again, I think she has started to realize that she does need their help. She does need to be back with them, because they're friends. They trust each other, they work together. It's part of the job. So I think she is happy to be back. Of course, we have a little bit of a laughing moment where Coulson, they're talking about how the director's an Inhuman, and how that also is another reason that's going to help her come back to S.H.I.E.L.D. And Coulson's just like, I always thought an Inhuman should be in charge, but not the director. And Daisy's just like, no. Maybe in the comic book version, I'm just like, you bastards. You can't throw that line in there. That's cheating. That is fourth wall breaking right there. That's not fair. So is she going to become the director like in the comics? Who knows? I honestly don't know much about the comics, but after reading more about her character, I found that out. And she does eventually become the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So is that where it's heading? Maybe, possibly. But it's a good little setup there for a story as well. What's going to happen with the director now? What's going to happen with Mace? Who knows? At first it seemed like maybe he's kind of corrupt, but we start to figure out, he's not really that corrupt. He does things that he thinks is right, just like Coulson would do in these situations. It's just not what Coulson thinks is right. So you could see the clash of mentalities there, but they are starting to work together. They are starting to trust each other more, and that is important. So how does this all go wrong? Because we know every finale has to end with some sort of cliffhanger part of the episode, or else we wouldn't know what the rest of the season or next season is going to be about. Well, sure enough, I knew something was going to happen with Ada, and sure enough it does. We see Mace is talking to one of his men about collecting all of Radcliffe's information, because he's apparently he wants to have all the information if he's going to allow Radcliffe to work on Ada and create pretty much another Ultron type thing. So we see that. We see the man's picking it up, and all of a sudden a door opens. And he goes in, he's just like, what the hell? And then turns, and Ada's right there. And he's just like, I'm sorry, I know how this feels. And snaps his neck. And I'm just like, she's not supposed to kill? What the heck is this? As it turns out, I wondered if we were ever going to see what was in this door, or if we were going to have to wait for the second half of the season. We get to see. We see her taking a bowl of water with a rag, and she's heading towards the door. I'm just like, okay, who is it? Is it Radcliffe? Did she replace Radcliffe? Opens the door, it's May. Freaking May. She's like cleaning her wound. Apparently she has like a head wound, and she's like cleaning the blood off of her. And then we go back to S.H.I.E.L.D. and Coulson's sitting there breaking open the bottle with fake May. Just like, are you serious? No. And ultimately, that's the end of it. That sets up for the second half of the season. The funny thing is, I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. played their cards too early. I think you could have kept that in secret and let us figure out later, because that would have been a bigger reveal if they had waited to show us. And on top of that, they already put out the design for the second half of the season. And it's called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. LMD, and they have every member of the team. They have Daisy, Coulson, Fitz, Simmons, Mac, and May. Everybody else but May is covered in red. She's the only clear picture. So clearly what they're setting up is Ada's going to try to replace the team with androids of themselves. And the fact of the matter is, like, I started thinking about it, it totally makes sense. What is her job? Her job is to make sure agents don't get hurt. They're not in the line of fire. In her mind, what's a logical step to do that? Replace them with androids of themselves. So that way they can't get hurt. Now, obviously this is completely illogical, and, well, actually it's kind of logical, but it's not morally sound. You know, you can't just replace everybody with androids, because then you're interacting with an android. You're not interacting with humans. That's the part of the problem with it. But in her mind, it makes complete sense. If they get replaced with androids, they can't get hurt. So I'm pretty sure that's where they're going with this. And like I said, the LMD thing that they set up, the picture that's going to represent the second half of the season, I'm sure as more characters get replaced with an android, those pictures will become uncovered with the red and will become clear. I'm sure that's where they're going with it. Will that mean everybody gets replaced with an android, or there's going to be one left that's not? Maybe, possibly. At some point, all of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be just androids, and that's it. She's going to have everybody locked away somewhere. It's going to be really, really scary, and probably a little bit creepy. But, I mean, it's a great setup, though. Even if that is where they're going with this, even if that is what's going to happen, it's still a great setup. You know, there's so many questions to be asked there. Is my reasoning, is that why she's doing it? Or is it something completely different? Is she just turning evil? There's so many questions to be asked. Great setup for the second half of the season. Great end to the first half of the season. I hope Ghost Rider comes back, because frankly he's awesome. But yeah, I love this episode. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? What do you think about the second half of the season? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.